Hi, Carl. It was a pleasure getting a chance to watch you interact with your students. They showed some amazing things during your lesson.
Thank you so much. It did not feel like I did a great job. So many moving parts. I just feel I could have done better.
I think many of us have the most critical eye of our own work. But before we jump to what you feel did not work, let's chat about what did work. While you watched the lesson back, what did you see as some of your strengths?
I was able to move throughout the classroom and ensure that each student got a fair chance to answer. I think my questions were good too, not just literal recall, but they had to think a little.
I definitely noticed how you moved throughout the room. Was that a purposeful strategy or something you just happened to do?
It was definitely planned out. I noticed in my data last month that the students who needed more support were actually doing better during group, and my students who need less support were doing better during small group. I was curious if increased proximity during whole group time would impact them, and sure enough, it did.
Wow, that is an awesome observation in action. What made you think to do that?
I remembered a behavior suggestion I had received years ago. The support person suggested that when a particular student began to stim, I should just increase my proximity to them without bringing attention to the stim. We had predicted that being close could give them reassurance that I was there if they needed any support.
What happened when you tried that?
It was wild. The students stimming would slow or stop, and they rarely needed any additional support. Just by me being there, it seemed to provide some sort of comfort. I don't know exactly, but we looked at the antecedents and consequences, and just my proximity seemed to be the impacting factor.
That is awesome how you use another experience to make an adjustment to a similar challenge.
Thank you. I thought maybe by having close proximity during whole group work may increase either their confidence or on-task behavior. I don't really know which one it was, and I'll need to look at more data for that, but it seems to be working either way.
Now, you mentioned that you still weren't 100% happy with your lesson. After watching your lesson back, what did you see that you were not pleased with?
I didn't really like my consistency providing support for wrong answers. On questions 3, 6, and 8, all had wrong answers provided by students, but I reacted differently each time.
I noticed that too. Tell me more about how or why the prompting was different or what the implication of the variance could be.
Well, the first time I reread a sentence and the student was able to get the answer right away. The next time I began to reread the sentence, but I stopped just short of the answer. The student finished the sentence and I gave her big feedback. Watching the video, I realized she may not have known the answer, but was just reading where I left off. I did not let them work for that answer. On question 8, when the student did not offer an answer, I showed a vocabulary card, which happened to be the answer, and asked for them to find it on the page. I realize now that I changed the question from comprehension to matching.
Those are very astute observations. You are correct in wanting consistency and getting really good using your prompting system, and that will help with that. Clearly, you understand the impact of how you responded to questions 6 and 8.
Even on question 3, I jumped over a prompt level.
Was that a reaction to the student struggling with the less intrusive prompt?
No, I just forgot to give the prompt.
That's okay. That's why we're here, to get better. Were there other areas you picked out that you were not happy with?
There were, but I think that if my prompting is consistent, then some of the other things I noticed would go by the wayside.
All right then. Would you like to spend the rest of our time focusing on prompting?
Absolutely. I brought my visual tool in today's text in case we needed them for practice.
Excellent job getting to fidelity. How do you feel navigating your prompting system?
Now that I've practiced it a few times with your feedback, I feel much more comfortable. I'm excited to get to practice immediately in my next lesson.